sheer terror, people reveal the scariest thing that ever happened to them. From evil entities to experiences with shadow people, these people reveal some of the scariest moments of their lives. Oh, what a beautiful baby! My parents have told me that one night they were up watching some TV after putting me to bed. This was when I was young enough to still have a baby monitor. We lived in a 2-story apartment, and my bedroom was on the 2nd story. They heard someone talking softly through the baby monitor, saying, "Oh, what a beautiful baby." Needless to say, my dad flipped and grabbed a baseball bat and ran into my room, but no one was there. The shadow at the bottom of the door. It was a house where my family stayed. First thing me and my sisters started noticing, it's kinda hard to explain, but when our doors were closed we could see a shadow at the bottom of the door, like someone was standing behind it. Adding to that, my room was downstairs next to the laundry room and garage. My girlfriend was in my room while I was in the garage smoking, and she heard someone walk by the door and could heard stuff being moved around the laundry room. No one was home except the two of us. 3. A man's handprint on my bathroom mirror. 2 weeks ago, I got out of the shower to find a man's handprint on the upper part of my bathroom mirror. I haven't had a mail over at my place in over a year. We found her in the bathtub, covered in blood. When I was a kid and lived in my old apartment, my mom befriended a downstairs neighbor and would often invite her over for coffee and tea because she was always so lonely. A few weeks went by without hearing from her, so we both go downstairs and knock on the door. It was like a movie where when you knock, the door slowly crept open as if it had been this way for a while. We walked inside and found her in the bathtub covered in blood, and the smell was disgusting. Apparently the lady's girlfriend left her and she couldn't handle the pain. My mom's way of comforting me was, "Don't worry, Mark. She was our friend, so she won't haunt us." Gee, thanks Mom. I turned to see a bunch of leaves flying around my mother's UR, and I was at my mother's funeral sitting down while somebody was giving a eulogy. All of a sudden it got cold and I turned to see a bunch of leaves flying around my mother's urn. Later that night my dad and I were driving back to the hotel we were staying at. On the way, I just felt nothing but chills going down my spine. We arrived at the hotel, and when I got into the room, I went over to shut the window shades, but something caught my eye and I looked down at the parking lot down below. It was a faint white figure that looked very much like my mom, and it just smiled and vanished. The deadbolt kept unlocking itself. I had just moved into a basement suite. Every time I went out I would lock the deadbolt but not the door handle, but when I came home a lot of the time the deadbolt would be unlocked and the door handle would be locked. At first I thought I was just confused about which one I had locked, so I started paying more attention. It kept happening and I realized someone must be going in when I went out. I assumed it was the landlady and was annoyed but didn't say anything at first. Then one day I came home and found the wrong lock locked again. I went and pissed off and opened the fridge to get something to eat. There was a book in the fridge that I had never seen before. I collected old books and this one was published in the early 1900s, which creeped me out completely because it was like it had been left for me. I finally called my landlady and asked if she was going into my apartment and told her what had happened. She freaked right out, said the last person who lived there was a really creepy guy with mental health and drug problems. She got all the locks changed that day and it never happened again. 7. I looked down and saw this tall slender figure walking up the stairs straight at me. I was about 9 or 10. It was late at night and my bed was right under the window. I was just gazing out looking up at the sky when I saw what looked like a UFO. Some text goes here, Dad? But then saw that it was something inhuman. I immediately froze in fear. The creature, or whatever it was, tall, slender, 2 slits for a nose, large black eyes, got right up into my face, continuing to make that awful snorting sound. Kind of like the sound a pig makes. I couldn't scream, I couldn't move, I just collapsed as it towered over me and bent down, pushing its face right into mine. Finally I blacked out. The next thing I know I was being awoken by my mom at the bottom of the stairs. She asked me how I got there, and said I must have walked. I'll never forget that face and that snorting sound. And I think I'd die of a heart attack if I ever saw it again. 8. I saw a person's shadow dart against the wall outside my wife and I stayed at a small rental property in Bath, UK this spring. Whilst in bed I heard the gate to the property, right outside our bedroom window, open and close quietly. This immediately made me jump up and become alert. I heard someone trying to quietly walk on the gravel walkway to our front door until the motion sensor light came on. I saw a person's shadow dart against the wall outside of our room and instantly went into attack mode. I ran into the kitchen and grabbed a knife from the wooden block and stood at the front door ready to pounce. It was silent for way too long and then I heard someone running away and the gate slam. My wife said that once the motion light turned off the person took off running. I have no idea what their intentions were but I almost stabbed the hell out of someone that night. It still gives me goosebumps thinking about it. 9. Whatever was behind me was evil. Our old house was at the corner, pretty secluded and near a main road. One night I woke up to hear my mom yelling. I was sleeping on the futon and this guy wearing all black just strode over me running. The burglar ran off before he got anything. I was more surprised to be woken up that early rather than the fact a burglar just broke into the house. Wasn't the first time the house got broken into, certainly not the last. We weren't rich by any stretch mind you, pretty much lower middle class. Other than that, I woken up to sleep paralysis, and at the time was pretty convinced whatever that was behind me, as I was lying on my side, it was evil. I could just move my eyeballs and all of my instincts told me not to look at it. 10. All of a sudden a triangular, dimly lit craft was flying fast over us. I was outside with my brother and best friend just talking and shooting around the basketball at night. I don't know why or what made us do it but we all were looking at the sky as we were talking and all of a sudden we see a triangular, dimly lit craft that was flying fast over us. What struck us was how silent it was and how clear we can see it. It was at least 100 feet high. We all ran inside and just told my family. In the end, I really just think it was a military aircraft, but who knows.